Hello everyone, it's Teacher Marianne here. Welcome back to my classroom. On this channel, you'll find videos all about helping you teach ESL online, where I'm bringing to you valuable tips, insight, and need-to-know information. In this video series, we're talking about standing out as an online ESL teacher so that you can get fully booked and work as much as you want to work from home. One of the number one things that teachers deal with is how do you get through every slide in a lesson? What if you have a student who isn't reading very well, just needs a little bit more wait time? What if you have a fast finisher that flies through the lesson? What if you have a student that just wants to talk the entire time and forget about the lesson? We're going to cover all of that as I share with you how to perfect your pacing throughout the lessons. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell, and also give me a thumbs up if you find this video helpful. I also want to let you know that you can grab my dog's gonna run in and out of the doggy door. You can grab my free guide to your online classroom setup by going to helloteachermarianne.com and just sending me a quick email requesting that guide. If you are thinking about going through the hiring process as a VIPKID teacher and you don't already have a referring teacher that's helping you, then I would be honored if you used my referral code. It'll be linked in the description box along with all kinds of other great information. I'll help you through that hiring process from beginning to end. I'll walk you through each stage of the process and then help you get set up as an online ESL teacher. Now in VIPKID, our lessons are 25 minutes long. Although I work for VIPKID, this entire video series is applicable to any online ESL teacher, no matter what company you work for. Okay, the first tip that I want to offer you is always check the teacher-to-teacher feedback, because a lot of times you'll find out from that feedback if a student is a struggler or if they are a fast finisher or not. And that will determine what reward system I put into place in this class, this particular class. If the child is a struggler, then I know automatically I am going to choose an easy reward, a reward that's not going to take a lot of time away from the class. I'm going to actually go through all of my rewards in my next video. I'm just going to choose a very easy reward if that teacher-to-teacher feedback tells me that this child might not be exactly on level, or he might just need a little bit extra help, a little bit extra support during the lesson. You don't want a reward that's going to take a lot of time. One thing I want to say about the teacher-to-teacher feedback is a teacher may not have really written in the feedback where she can type, he or she can type in that feedback. They may not have written anything about the child struggling, but there are benchmarks at every lesson, and we as teachers can check whether the child was excellent in these benchmarks, they were good in these benchmarks, or if they were struggling in these benchmarks. And so I always look at those too if it's an unfamiliar student, to see what did the teacher mark. And if they marked struggling, then obviously that's a red flag. Quick and easy reward. If they marked excellent, then that tells me I may want to try a reward that offers some extension possibility in case I get in here and this child can extend. At VIPKID, we're supposed to cut our classes off at 25 minutes, but there's a 5-minute buffer in between each class. Like if I have a 5 a.m. class, that class should go from 5 to 5:25, but then my next class won't start until 5:30. So I do have a few minutes of buffer time there. If you're worried about not being able to finish all of the slides and get your feedback in, if you're like me and you want to get your feedback done, but before you move on to the next class, then I would suggest until you're very comfortable with your lesson pace, then don't book back-to-back classes. Okay, so first let's talk about that student who might be at a little bit lower level and isn't reading comfortably the material. Maybe they take a little bit longer to answer. You're kind of getting antsy thinking, okay, I've got 28 slides in 25 minutes. What I always do in that kind of situation is, one thing is that I will read part of the slide for them. Leo, you listen, I read. Okay? I'll circle the portion that I'm going to read, and then he will read a portion. Now, one thing I always check for comprehension, whether I'm reading or he's reading, because if I'm reading, I certainly don't want to just let him, off the hook, so to speak, and not have to pay attention. Now, I also mentioned this in my student output video. It's another way you can get more student output, which parents are always looking for. They want their child practicing the speaking with you, the native English speaker, as much as possible. So always check for comprehension. Just ask a quick little question after you read, and then after they read. Also, for those slower readers, be sure that you leave in your feedback for the parents. Leo can practice fluency and accuracy by reading English, 15 minutes a day. I often say, have Leo read the story from this lesson for 10 minutes a day to increase fluency and accuracy. I know if Leo practices on familiar material, his accuracy and fluency is going to increase. So that's one of the ways that we get students reading faster and more accurately, is we have them read the same material over and over. I just want to say another trick for the strugglers out there. So much of it is that they just don't have the confidence to give you the sentence frame that you're looking for, or answer the question with any real knowing that they're going to get it correct. And so whether the slide tells me to model or not, if I know that I'm dealing with a struggler here, I'm going to model the correct answer first for them for the first few times I go through a sentence frame, just to give them some confidence, like, oh, that is what she's looking for. Okay. And give them something to build on. I'm not going to make them come up with the answer from scratch if it's not there. And when we talk about sentence frames, an example would be, do you listen to the teacher at school? The answer should be, yes, I listen to the teacher at school. However, that's a long sentence frame. I find it's one of the most difficult sentence frames for the students to grasp because it is so long. I will ask the question and then I will guide them through the answer. Do you listen to the teacher at school? Yes, I listen to the teacher at school. I'll model that a few times for them throughout the lesson, and maybe throughout a few lessons if they're a regular student, just to give them, again, confidence. And of course, I'll put it in the feedback for them to practice that sentence frame. I want to give you a little trick here. If you see that you are not going to have time to finish, let's say you're on slide 17, it's already at minute 23. You're going to have to skip slides, in other words, right? You know there's no way around it. You tried, you did your best with pacing, but you're going to have to skip some slides. As the time gets closer to that, 24-minute mark, and you've still got to sing the goodbye song, then at minute 24, at the bottom of your slides, you can enter in the number of the slide that you want to jump to in the lesson, so that parents don't see you skipping slides. And not to be underhanded by any means. You just don't want to give the impression that you weren't doing your job. You know that you were doing everything you could to get the student to get through the material. I just always skip to the slide, so there's not a question in the parent's mind, hey, they skipped 4 slides in this lesson. I've done that before, and I just have to skip slides to get to the end of the lesson so we can sing our goodbye song. Parents do not want you to skip the goodbye song. If it's a level 2 or level 1, you need to be sure you always do the goodbye song. So I just feel like, to cut down on confusion, it's just my favorite little trick. If it happens, it happens, and it's going to happen sometimes. Just jump to the song slide by entering in the number. All right, I hope that tip helps you. Okay, so we've talked about the struggling student or the slower paced student. What if you have a student who flies through the lesson? This is called a fast finisher. You've done everything in the lesson, and then you've got 3-4 minutes left at the end of the slide. First of all, never click finish class until that 25-minute mark shows up, because they've paid for a 25-minute class, so we don't want to short them that at all. You just always have to extend. My first way to extend is to always go back to sentence frames that we learned. Some students are really good. They know how to be like A+ students. They know what to say when they get to the slides to fly through the lessons. However, if you ask them the same sentence frames out of order, then a lot of times that's a lot harder. If we get to the end of the lesson, we're not on the slide that has the picture about, do you listen to the teacher at school? I will just go to that blank slide, turn off the student's mouse so they're not drawing everywhere, so their eyes are on me. that blank slide that's at the end of the lesson for extension, and I'll just say, Amy, do you listen to the teacher at school? And a lot of times you'll find like, wow, Amy flew through that when we were going through the slides, but now she doesn't know what to say. And so that's one way that you can really practice that conversation, practice that back and forth sentence frame. That's the first thing that I want to firm up if I have any extra time. And then the next thing I want to do is extend, making the lesson relevant to them. So if the lesson was about school, then I'll say, Amy, what's your favorite class in school? And most all of them will say PE. PE? My favorite class is PE. What do you do in PE? You play soccer? I play soccer in PE. Do you have a girls' team and a boys' team? Or do you play together? So just however I can, and you'll be surprised, you can have 4 minutes left and you can spend all those minutes on 2 questions easily. Once you start extending, the time really flies, but parents love the extension. So I love when I have a few minutes left at the end of a lesson to talk and really extend with the students. Okay, and the last student that I want to cover is the talkative student. Now, this talkative student that I'm referring to is not the student who will occasionally throw in some information or tell you something throughout the lesson. I always respond to those students. For instance, if we're doing a lesson and the student asks me out of the blue, do you have a dog? I will respond to that. Yes, I have a dog. I'll show them a picture of my dog if I can. I have some pictures saved on my phone that are really easy and fast to pull up. So I always will say, this is my dog. Her name is Maggie. You know, we'll do maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds on that. I want to acknowledge that question. And parents love that too. However, the talkative student I'm referring to for this purpose is the one that doesn't want to do any of the lesson slides. He just wants to talk for 25 minutes. And so his reward is when you do a great job, I'll ask you a question. Or when you do a great job, you ask me a question. Or when you do a great job, you tell me anything. He knows every 5 minutes or so we get to take a 30-second about break and he gets to talk. I have to make sure that I am hitting those objective goals and that I'm also extending and I'm making class fun for him as well. That's about my favorite trick for these talkative students. You know, it's just always fun for those students. I'm going to talk a lot more about what I use, what questions I use, and how do I get students talking and those conversation starters in next week's video all about rewards. Okay guys, I hope this video helped you out. Please let me know if I can be of any help to you through the hiring process. And remember, you can do it. It might change your life like it did mine. And I'm your biggest cheerleader. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.